You're tuned in to the Foxboro BeatCast, a podcast for Patriots fans by Patriots fans. And here's your host, Kaleb McChesney.
Hello and welcome to the Foxboro BeatCast, everybody. I'm your host, Kaleb McChesney. Alongside me, my co-host for the evening. He's become quite a frequent flyer around these parts. Not that we're complaining at all. Trent Osborne back again. Talk some NFL football. Try his hand at some Patriots talk before we get into some of the fun stuff. Trent, how are you? How's your week been? You excited for Super Bowls and whatnot?
Yeah, I think oddly, most people aren't. I think I'm as excited for this Super Bowl as I have been for one in quite a while. I'm really interested to see how things are going to play out.
Yeah, no, I'm right there. I'm right there with you for sure. Um, Again, this is everybody claims that this is the Super Bowl that nobody wanted, and it's not it's a couple of unpopular teams as far as the teams who are not fans of them, but they're one of the largest fan bases in the NFL. You kind of just gotta roll with what you got there. But these are I think the two classes of their conferences respectively, and no, but it should be a good game for sure. But before we get into the big topic at hand, we do have some Patriots things to go over. This is the Foxboro BeatCast. Obviously, Patriots made some high key moves in the last week or so that we didn't get to touch on last week. We obviously hired a new offensive coordinator. We hired an senior offensive assistant, big name, who I think kind of gets a bad rap by the revisionist history. And we hired a new front office person from the Miami Hurricanes, and they all have a common thread that I kind of want to touch on. And then Trent and I prepared for you all a fun little game. The end, I'm sure you've seen on the TikTok. Once you see what we're doing, you'll get the idea. But let's kick off with the Patriots stuff real quick. Right, rip off the Band-Aid. The Patriots hired some offensive coaches. Finally, we got the big names. We got Alex Van Pelt as our offensive coordinator for 2024. That's right, Bill O'Brien out. Went to Ohio State and now reportedly in Boston College. It's just another one last kick to the pants of Ohio State as Trent's wearing that Michigan sweatshirt, and I'm sure he's reveling in Ohio State being inconvenienced once more. But yeah, Alex Van Pelt, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, he's been under Kevin Stefanski for a couple of years now. Gets his shot as the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots. A little brief history on him. Van Pelt resume reads he was a former quarterback of the Buffalo Bills in the mid 90s to early 2000s. A lot of you older fans might remember him. He then became the offensive coordinator, then bouncing around as a QB coach for teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you remember, like Josh Freeman was probably a name that was over there. The Green Bay Packers, obviously, with all-time great Aaron Rodgers. I'll say it, all-time great. I know Patriots fans don't love him. The Cincinnati Bengals with Andy Dalton. Again, not another great name, but most recently, the Cleveland Browns under Kevin Stefanski. Obviously, the Browns not the greatest quarterback room, but you get them. As the offensive coordinator for the Browns, you got the most out of a 37, 38-year-old Joe Flacco. I'd say that's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. He has a limited knowledge of play calling, but that could be why Ben McAdoo is here. Ben McAdoo, hired earlier this week, former head coach of the New York Giants, offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. Again, not the greatest resume there when you look at it on face value. Obviously, he's burned a little bit by revisionist history. He was the guy who broke Eli Manning's Iron Man streak by benching him in those, what was it, 2017 late season game. It was like before they even drafted Daniel Jones. Like they put Geno Smith out there before Geno Smith was what we know him to be today. And then obviously, the Carolina Panthers job, not highly coveted, not a whole lot going over there. You had the kind of retread of Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold at their lowest with Matt Rule over there. Like that wasn't a situation born to be made great. And then you hired a front office man. This just today, Alonzo Highsmith spent some time with the Cleveland Browns. Got a lot of Browns threads going on here. Most recently, spent some time with the Miami Hurricanes down in college. He'll have a little bit of a take on college players coming up. You interacted with them, might have an idea of some ACC players that could be targeted. But overall, some good moves. I think I'm optimistic of where this is going. But I wanted to kind of touch on one common thread all of these guys kind of have, and something that I found really interesting. Trent, I was talking to you about this pre-show. All of these guys have one team in common and one specific era of this team in common, and that would be the early 2010s Green Bay Packers. Ben McAdoo served as the quarterback coach, tight ends coach for that Packers team between 2012 to 2015, 16, 17. Alex Van Pelt was the QB coach and running backs coach in a similar time period, a little bit later. And then Alonzo Highsmith, let me get this right. He served as the Green Bay Packers senior personnel executive from 2012 to 2017. There's a lot of good players that came through those Packers draft classes, free agent signings in that era. The Packers obviously didn't win the Super Bowl at all in that time period. Aaron Rodgers, though, won a couple of MVPs. Something worked over there, and I'm kind of excited to see what their kind of brain what their mind is kind of like approaching this offense. That's kind of bare bones. I think we'd agree that you're working with I don't want to say clean slate, but that's kind of what it looks like. Like you have holes everywhere, and you have a chance to fill it up with guys that you have in mind to do a job that you want, and you can kind of create the offense however you want it to look like. I wanted to touch on the Packers' offensive ranks and some of their stats between 2012 and 2017. On average, I didn't do the hard numbers, but it looks like they average about 25 points per game, which may not sound like a lot in today's NFL, but compare it to the Patriots the last 2 years where I think we averaged like 12. I wish I was exaggerating, but that's probably the number that it comes out to between last year and this year. Lots of passing yards, or lots of offensive yards in general. Good amount of points totals. Solid on third downs. Fourth downs even better. Just looking at all this on face value, you can find a lot of this on StatMuse. I'm optimistic. I really am. So yeah, that's kind of your Patriots breakdown. Trent, I don't know how much you might know about the Green Bay Packers of those early 2010s, if you have anything to kind of touch on, but I'll pitch the ball to you because my voice is tired, and I'll let you give a little bit of a thought before we move on to stuff that is a little more fun.
Yeah, so I apologize. My Wi-Fi's been really spotty. I'm sure you've seen me kind of in and out. I've been closing apps trying to improve it while we've been talking. But I think you touched on it a little bit. I mean, draft ability is going to be the key thing for the Patriots because they skated by for so long having a great defense with Belichick. The defense is always going to be good no matter who is on that side of the ball for the most part, and having Tom Brady. And now, obviously, neither of those things are going to be there. Having the ability to is going to be the biggest part in this rebuild. And from everything I can tell, they've got guys with great experience. If you believe the stories that some of them will say about, oh, I like this guy, I like that guy, which you never really can know until you get them in the building. But that's going to be the biggest key. And I think they're off to a good start with that so far.
Yeah. Just going through these drafts that were partaken by guys like Highsmith, offensive players that were taken by a lot of these offensive coaches. One that sticks out, David Bakhtiari, one of the best offensive tackles in the league, taken in 2013. Corey Linsley, great center. Devontae Adams, great wide receiver. Lots of good defensive players, too. A lot of good defensive picks for these Packers in these years. Aaron Jones, running back, real solid. Jamal Williams in the same draft class, believe it or not. Again, it's a small sample size. A lot of defensive picks. Obviously, the Packers weren't known for fantastic defenses back then. They wanted to bolster that after their 2010 Super Bowl run. But you see a name like Bakhtiari, Corey Linsley, Devontae Adams, hard not to get excited about that. So
Yeah.
So we'll see. Elliot Wolf, another guy. He's going to be the de facto GM as it's reported so far. Another guy with Packers lineage. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of that for sure. But that's kind of your Patriots staff roundup. Next week, if I have a chance, I will get a finalized coaching list of what it looks like, what we're going in with this offseason, and maybe we can come up with some wish lists or ideas for that moving forward. But Patriot stuff aside, we got it out of the way. Let's talk. Let's get into this game that me and Trent prepared for you all. So it goes down like this. You gave us the idea after last week, Trent, and I'm all for it. So here's how this segment is going to go. We're going to name our top 10 Super Bowl moments of our lifetime, but it won't be a consensus list. We'll each pick 5 moments in a draft format. So say Trent picks for his Colts, the Colts didn't really have a ton of moments in the Super Bowl. They had 2006. I mean, was there a huge Colts play that I'm just leaving out of my brain here?
A Colts play? No, but there is a pretty memorable moment from that.
Yeah, no, okay, so say Trent picks the Devin Hester return for the touchdown to kick off the game in 2006. That's off the board. I can't take it anymore. And we're just going to go back and forth. I'm going to keep a running list to make sure none of us overlap. We'll play until each of us have 5 moments each. And as we pick them, we'll give a brief analysis as to why we picked it. Trent, you're the visitor to the show. You're the designated away team. I will give you the first pick. Tell me, what is your first overall pick for this Super Bowl moments draft and why?
So I'm really glad I got the first pick because I'd be surprised if you're not going the same place that I was gonna go. I feel like you have to go with the Malcolm Butler interception. Just not just the fact that it was such a crazy moment at the very end of the game to kind of snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, so to speak. But just to kind of think about what that moment and what that win meant for Brady and Belichick's legacy at that point, because I mean, they went from dominating the Super Bowl, being one of the greatest dynasties the league had ever seen, to going on a serious dry spell. And if Brady loses that Super Bowl, he goes from being, I believe, 3-0 in Super Bowls to now you're 3-3, losing your last 3. That is a huge shift in how we're talking about his legacy, how we're talking about a lot of things, and who knows if that win doesn't happen, what kind of changes are made. It is kind of a, excuse me, I feel like it's a major butterfly effect moment for what happened with the Patriots dynasty. That would be my number 1 pick.
Nope. You took I got it on my phone right here, ranking the Super Bowl plays, as if you could see it before it disappeared. The Malcolm Butler interception, number 1 for me. Number 1 for me. So in the same breath, I'm gonna go with the Adam Vinatieri game-winning kick. Super Bowl 36, the first one. Obviously, there's nothing quite like the first time. There's a lot of people, right? Obviously, it was a month before my lifetime, but I'll give it to Trent. Trent's a little older than me. He was alive when this happened, even if he can't remember it, because he was probably like 1.5, 2.
Yeah.
But again, you kick off the dynasty with that big kick, Adam Vinatieri. Great, maybe the greatest kicker of all time. Probably the greatest kicker of all time. I think we could both say that as a resident Patriots Colts fan. Adam Vinatieri, the greatest of all time. I think we can feel that way. So I will go with that one. The first one. It's hard to beat the Malcolm Butler interception. I think when you picked that, you kind of you took the wind out of my sails. So we're gonna go with that one. Adam Vinatieri, Super Bowl 36 against the Rams, game-winning kick. Just capped off an awesome drive from Tom Brady at the end there with John Madden on the call. I would play for overtime here. Just special. Everything about that game was special. I love rewatching it, especially because I don't remember it, and because I wasn't alive. So it's a good one. It's a good one. All right, number 2. Actually, do we want to? Yeah, let's just go back to you. Let's go back to you. Number 2. What's your number 2?
So number two, I feel like the best moment left at this point is the David Tyree helmet catch.
Oh, you're gonna piss a lot of people off there.
Yeah, well, it's almost a credit to Patriots fans because a major reason why that play is so huge because it really was such a storybook element going into that game. The Patriots trying to be the first undefeated team since the 72 Dolphins, the David versus Goliath element already going in, and then you have such a low percentage visually stunning type play that leads to the Giants knocking off the Patriots. Probably the biggest upset in Super Bowl history. I know a lot of people bring up Joe Namath and the Jets
I'd
over the
probably say
Colts.
the single biggest.
Yeah, at the very least, on the very short list of biggest upsets in Super Bowl history, and that is the singular moment from that entire game. That is another one of those plays that we're probably going to be talking about 30, 40 years from now.
Every time the Super Bowl's in Arizona, I see the replay. All right, so you're just gonna leave this one right up to me, and I will take it. Give me the Julian Edelman catch from Super Bowl 51. I hate to go back to back Patriots here, but somebody's got to represent. That Edelman catch, I think you speak just as highly of it as me. It is very impressive, just the concentration of Edelman to just get under that ball, catch it, and convince the ref that he did catch it. Obviously, on review, it was clear. I have you know those framed photos you get from those specialty like stores at the mall? You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I got one of those in my closet. I have yet to hang it up, but it's there. Um, yeah, just an awesome catch. Once Edelman caught that, you kind of knew we were going to go down and score again. And I don't remember if that was in overtime or if that was the fourth quarter drive to tie it. But impressive play. It's what makes Edelman clutch. What makes Edelman beloved by Patriots fans. Maybe he doesn't have that national recognition of like a Larry Fitzgerald or a Antonio Brown or but then maybe that's a bad name. But you know what I mean. Those superstar receivers, Edelman was just really, really good for us. And if you weren't watching Patriots football, I could kind of see why you would look at Edelman kind of blank and just go, oh well, he's just an okay receiver who had some shiny playoff moments. But that offense clicked when he was in there. There wasn't a whole lot that he couldn't do. So give me that Super Bowl catch, Super Bowl 51, Julian Edelman. Probably could have been the MVP of that one, as well as James White, but obviously most of the time, unless you're like having a crazy game, the quarterback's gonna get it. So, Trent, number 3 for you.
So I went back and forth. I went back and forth on where I wanted to go with this one, and honestly, I'm still kind of going back and forth right now. Um, I am going to take the Santonio Holmes
Okay.
game-winning touchdown against Arizona. Just another one of those visually stunning plays that would stick out in any game you watched, let alone
Was that Super
it
Bowl
being.
41?
I believe so. Let me pull up.
I can do it. You explain the play. I'll pull it up. Or why you
Yeah,
picked it.
so just into uh, super tight coverage, back of the end zone. Amazing throw by Ben Roethlisberger to win his second Super Bowl. By that point, Santonio Holmes, one of my favorite players from when I was a kid when I first started watching football. It visually stunning type play would stick out in any kind of game, let alone the game-winning play of the Super Bowl. Like I said, that is going to be up there. That's one that'll be on highlight reels, memories, things like that. Especially as of now of 2024 when we're recording this, the last time the Steelers won a Super Bowl, it's going to remain a pretty big deal until the Steelers are able to win another one too.
That was kind of like an Antonio Brown level play too. Santonio Holmes was just most of his career just kind of an okay receiver. Um, okay to good. He wasn't a game breaker by any means of the word, but yeah, plays like that. Just toe tap in the corner of the end zone. Hard to beat that. I looked it up. Super Bowl 40 was that. Really wish Larry Fitzgerald and Kurt Warner could have pulled that one off for the home
Me
away
too.
from home, but neither here nor there. My number 3 pick. Patriots fans are gonna hate me. Give me the Mario Manningham catch in Super Bowl 46. Just one of those rare, perfect throws in between the two receivers or two defensive backs. And what's crazy about this is if there's a clip of the mic'd up of this game, and Belichick's on the sideline before this drive telling his defense, make Eli throw to Manningham. Well, they forced him to throw to Manningham, and he made one of the most unbelievable catches in Super Bowl history. Just, you can call Eli lucky for the first one. I'll hear it out, but that second one was just all guts and threading the needle. And then, hats off to Manningham for making the catch after getting absolutely lit up by Patrick Chung on that sideline there. Once the Giants made that catch, you kind of knew how that game was going to go at the end there. So Mario Manningham, Super Bowl 46. Sorry, Patriots fans. I'll try to make it up to you with my final two picks. Trent, you're up again. Give me your number 4.
Yeah, I think first of all, Mario Manningham, go blue. That's my guy. I have a helmet autographed by Mario Manningham and a few other guys over in the basement down here. That's one of the best catches ever. I don't think I said it earlier, but I think the Edelman catch is the greatest catch in NFL history. I remember freaking out about that for probably 5 minutes after that happened. I couldn't get over how ridiculous it was that he caught it. My next pick, this one is before the both of us, I believe. If I was,
The
I
rule
had
was
to-
lifetime, Trent.
I know. Well, I don't think it was before us in the sense before I was watching.
Okay.
But it was right around the time I was born, and it is the Kenny Dyson, Mike Jones, Titans Rams final play.
Oh,
From-
the 1 yard short.
Yes, when Kenny Dyson gets tackled, the Titans have no timeouts. They don't have enough time to get back up to the line. They had already managed to mount at what was at the time the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history, being down 16-0, I believe. And to come back from that kind of a deficit just to lose on got to be the most heartbreaking way possible that you can possibly lose. If I were a Titans fan and I were old enough to remember watching that play, I still don't think I would be over it some 24 years later.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. Ooh, still got some great ones left.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go with this one. Rodney Harrison's game-ending interception in Super Bowl 39 against the Eagles, Donovan McNabb. Again, it just kind of puts the bookend on the first iteration of the Patriots dynasty. That game, largely not as close as the score makes it seem. The Eagles kind of rallied late in garbage time, but this was 2004 Andy Reid, where he was just abysmal with clock management. And Belichick was just Belichick, greatest coach of all time for a reason. He took advantage of it. Donovan McNabb, obviously, was it him that like puked on the sideline or on the field or whatever the hell that story was?
I can't remember off the top of my head, actually.
I don't remember if that was the game or not, but Terrell Owens playing on a broken leg. Just a lot of stuff going into that game, and Rodney Harrison, just one of the pivotal acquisitions of the Patriots for that first Super Bowl run, winning the second Super Bowl against the Panthers, breaking his arm in the game, and then then obviously the game-ending interception to get 3, create the dynasty, and everything's kind of set. That Super Bowl's kind of underrated. That team is super underrated just because of how dominant they were. I believe they were 15-1 or 14-2 that 2004-2005 season. Just dominant. Those Patriots defenses were so good, and Rodney Harrison was a huge part of it. So give me the Rodney Harrison game-ending interception from Super Bowl 39. Somebody had to give that one some love. Hopefully Rodney Harrison makes the Hall of Fame. I really hope so. All right, Trent, pick number 5. Make it count.
I'm between two.
Okay.
I'll go with this one, and I have a quick honorable mention after that. I guess
Save
I guess
the HMs for the end, just so in case I take it.
Yeah, for sure. So I am gonna go with the Devin Hester touchdown return to start the Super Bowl. I the Bears were such a huge underdog going into that game against the Colts, and I just love the visual of it. That's one of the best vibes and visual Super Bowls of all time, especially with the Prince halftime performance. I
Hmm.
don't if you haven't seen that, if anyone watching it hasn't seen it, go back and watch it. It's the best one ever. But huge underdog, Bears get the ball first. You see the flashes because it's still 2006. You see the little Polaroid camera flashes in the crowd. Devin Hester houses the opening kickoff return. One of my favorite, and I'm a Colts fan, one of my favorite moments ever. I remember my buddy, my old friend, he was a Bears fan. He was watching with his girlfriend who was a Colts fan. And he started going so crazy, his girlfriend made him go stand outside in the Indianapolis cold until the Colts actually came back to tie it up. And the Colts obviously pretty much cruised most of the rest of the way. But that would be my number 5 pick.
It's a good one. Hate to pick against your own team there, but you won the Super Bowl anyway.
Yeah.
Probably not a game that you would recommend watching back now. If you were trying to understand what the Super Bowl was, that's not a game you're gonna show a newbie into the sport.
No. Fun fact, Peyton Manning's touchdown to interception ratio that entire playoff run was three touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So
Oh,
mazel tov.
if only the Patriots had a goddamn receiver that year. God, a lot of good ones left. A lot of good ones left, and then after this one, I'll read off the ones we didn't pick that I have on my phone anyway. You might have another list with some ones that I missed. God, do I want to go Patriots homer with this one? Just end up the list with another Patriots moment that
You
I
have a
really
lot
like.
of Patriots moments.
There's a lot of them.
I mean, they've only played in what half the freaking Super Bowl since 2000, pretty much.
Believe they went to 9, and then if you count Brady's Bucks one, 10, which I do have a moment from there that I want to pick, but I can't justify it. Super Bowl 53, Jason McCourty, the pass breakup in the back of the end zone where he just runs like he's on the other side of the field where Brandon Cooks is like at that goalpost. You remember that play? Jared Goff just bombs it down to the middle of the end zone. McCourty out of nowhere just breaks that pass up. Unbelievable. I had no idea where he came from. I watching that play. I was like, oh, here we go. It's a touchdown, and it's a game. Because I get that Super Bowl wasn't really great for the average viewer. I get it, but for me, it was kind of cool to see something a little different. That kind of defensive chess match almost. But God, Jason McCourty just out of nowhere. All of a sudden, you see fucking 3-0 out of nowhere. Go over there, light him up. Brandon Cook's one of my favorite players from that era in the league. But yeah, that was a good one. Jason McCourty, Super Bowl 53. That was an impressive play. Got to hand it to the defensive back. And then obviously there's a couple other moments for that Super Bowl, like the Gronk catch down the sideline to set up the Sony Michel touchdown, and then the Stephon Gilmore interception at the end to ice it. A lot of good stuff from that Super Bowl, even if it was kind of a snooze fest for the average viewer. But I'll go with the Jason McCourty play. All right, Trent. Let's name off some of the plays that we missed. I'll let you go first.
I have a sleeper one
Okay.
that not a lot of people would remember, I feel like, but the surprise onside kick.
I had it on my list.
In the Saints and Colts Super Bowl. I mean, I remember that was one of the first Super Bowls I ever watched as a fan, and that completely changed the entire energy of the game. Hank Baskett will pay for every meal in Indianapolis for the rest of his life. But that was such a huge play. Another one I had from the same game, the interception that Peyton threw that iced it for the Saints.
Oh God, what was his name? The guy who picked it off.
I believe
Tracy Porter? Was that his name? Something Porter? Oh God.
I believe
Super Bowl. That was Super Bowl 44.
It is. That was the name I had in my head.
But I'm like, isn't Tracy Porter an actor?
Tracy Morgan's an actor.
Oh, yeah, Tracy Porter. I had it right.
Tracy Porter.
74-yard
Yep.
interception, return touchdown. God, look at me. Madden 11 just coming in to save the day here. Couple of the ones that I had that we didn't take. The snap going over Peyton Manning's head in Super Bowl 48.
Oh yeah.
That was bad. Ugh,
Mm-hmm.
that was rough. The one from the Bucks Super Bowl, Bucks Chiefs that I left off, Brady targeting Matthew at the end there. Where Matthew gets up, starts talking crap to Brady, and then Brady on the next like set of 2 plays goes right at him with Antonio Brown, ends up throwing the touchdown on his head. I thought that was funny. The Von Miller strip sack for the touchdown in Super Bowl 50. The Broncos were just dominant that entire playoff stretch. That defense was just amazing. Von Miller more than deserving of that. And then I had the big kickoff return for the Ravens in that 2012 matchup against the Colin Kaepernick 49ers. That kick just coming out of halftime with the lights out. Thought that was kind of a cool moment. Obviously, Ray Lewis goes out on top with that Super Bowl win. Not a lot of highlight plays from that one, but that's a memorable Super Bowl for sure, just because of the lights going out at halftime.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because the next thing I was going to say was the lights going out because then the Niners, Kaepernick and the Niners start mounting that comeback and actually turning it into a game. And the most obnoxious person you know at your job telling you that it's a conspiracy theory that the NFL was trying to make the game better.
Just wait for the conspiracy theories around this one, Trent. Just wait for the conspiracy theories around the Super Bowl.
Have you heard the Taylor Swift 13 theory? Yeah.
Yep. I've heard a lot of problematic Taylor Swift conspiracy theories about this game that I would just love to get into, but things are holding me back. But speaking of this game, well, actually, let's recap what we took, and then let's go into Super Bowl 58. Did I get the number right?
Yeah,
58?
I believe so. Yep.
God. Been 5 years since the Patriots won their last one. End the drought, damn it. All right, so Trent, with his first 5, he takes the Malcolm Butler interception for Super Bowl 49, first overall. He goes with the helmet catch for Super Bowl 42. He goes with the San Antonio Holmes catch in Super Bowl 40, the 1-yard short Titans Rams greatest show on turf, Super Bowl 35, the Devin Hester touchdown return in Super Bowl 40. I go with the Adam Vinatieri kick in Super Bowl 36, the Julian Edelman catch in Super Bowl 51, the Mario Manningham sideline grab, Super Bowl 46, Rodney Harrison interception to clinch the first iteration of the dynasty in Super Bowl 39, and then the Jason McCourty pass breakup in Super Bowl 53. We obviously gave a lot of moments. If you're feeling a little interested, give us some moments in the comments that we missed. I'd love to see if we skipped out on any. But I think we nailed out. I think we nailed a lot of them. I really did. I think we did a good job with that. All right, Trent. The moment we've all been waiting for. A lot of things have been building up about this game. Let's get right into it. After a week of previews, a week of national media, a week of preparation, a week of weird questions from reporters in Vegas. It all comes down to this Sunday. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo on the call for CBS for Super Bowl 58 between the San Francisco 49ers, Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, and the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. You know the deal. Let's talk about what's to come, what we expect, and give an official Foxboro beat stamped prediction on this game. And maybe we can discuss some of the fallout that comes out if one team wins or the other, what the narratives kind of become, and the conversations we might be having afterwards. So Trent, I'll lead it off with you here. What are you expecting out of this game? What are you hoping for? You know the drill. You know what comes with previewing these games. Now you're a professional.
Well, I think it's a very interesting matchup because I have been beating the drum, as you know, all year that the Chiefs are far from washed. They're far better than anybody's given them credit for. They've had a lot of bad breaks, not necessarily bad breaks in the sense of they're getting robbed, but bad breaks in the sense of dumb turnovers, drop passes, things like that. This is a battle-tested team. I knew in the playoffs they would fix it up, and you've seen they dominated the Dolphins, beat the Bills in Buffalo, dominated the Ravens. This defense is every bit as good as the Niners defense, if not better. and the offense is starting to come alive. This is not their first rodeo, let alone Patrick Mahomes's. I am expecting a comfortable Chiefs win, and I haven't really said that. I struggle to say 2 touchdowns. The score that I keep going back to in my head is 31-17. I if a team tells you who they are, believe them the first time. And the Chiefs have been playing their best ball of the year these entire playoffs, and the Niners have been playing their worst. On their the defense has the bottom has completely fallen out on the Niners defense. Purdy is doing enough to win, which we kind of got into it in DMs a little bit, which I think he deserves a little bit of credit for that. But he's gonna have to do a lot more than that to beat this Chiefs defense. This is gonna be the best defense he's played since Baltimore's defense towards the end of the regular season by far. And for those of you who don't remember, that was the infamous 4 interception game for Purdy that knocked him out of the MVP race. So we're going to have to see something special out of Brock Purdy. We're going to have to see the best coaching performance of Kyle Shanahan's career, because Shanahan can't keep losing these kinds of games, especially when the media narrative is that the Niners have the better team. The Chiefs at this
for
point,
sure, yeah.
the media narrative is that the Niners have the better team. The fact the Niners are favored in this game from Vegas blows my mind.
So is it still 2 points, 2.5 points?
The last time I saw it was 2.5 points, yes. And I think another interesting note for this game is that the Chiefs, I feel like, are playing with house money. All it's been all year is people doubting them. They're not this, they're not that, doubting the defending Super Bowl champions, whereas the Niners have been favored in every single game they've played this year. And if they don't win it this year, the questions about Purdy, the how long is the window open for this team? Because, excuse me, while it is well built, this contract situation with all these stars is going to catch up with them. If it's not this year, Niners fans are probably going to go into full-blown panic mode on if this roster right here is going to win a Super Bowl. I'm going to take the Chiefs 31-17.
All right. I'm going to reiterate a lot of things you just said. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league, without a question. They've overcome a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? They've overcome a lot of doubt. They've overcome a lot of what's the word? It starts with an A. A lot of
Adversity.
Adversity. Thank you. They did a lot this year. The Chiefs. There's no reason that you shouldn't be super confident that they could win this game and that they should win this game. The Niners aren't playing their best football, like you said. It kind of reminds me of the 2007 Patriots in a way, where in those 2 playoff games they weren't playing very well. Those 2 playoff games they were sloppy, but they won against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Niners were sloppy and they beat, who was it? The Packers. That first game after the bye, Jordan Love kind of handed one to you. Against the Lions, you had to come back. You did. No, all credit to you, Purdy. He did what he had to do to go win that game. Don't like that you were in that position in the first place, because the Chiefs aren't just going to give you that back. The Lions, I don't want to say same old Lions, but you weren't watching Detroit sports the last 20 years if you weren't on the edge of your seat, kind of expecting the wheels to kind of fall off on that one. I will say, as cocky as I was, that the Niners were over because I didn't think they had the quarterback to get that job done. They got the job done. The Chiefs, you can't play with points like that. You can't play with your food, and the Niners have been playing with their food all postseason. They've refused to just step on the throat and stay on it. They've shown an inability to do it. And you give the Chiefs an inch of breathing room, they're going to take a mile. And when they take a mile, are you going to be able to go toe to toe with them? I don't love the matchup. I don't love the coaching matchup. I like Andy Reid over Kyle Shanahan. I think Reid knows what he's got to do to win it. Shanahan's been sitting here, kind of the definition of insanity, doing the same things over and over and over again and hoping it works. He's finally gotten back to the big dance. He's got to learn from the mistakes he made in Super Bowl 51 with the opting to pass the ball when you're up 25 points. And the same thing in Super Bowl 54, where he was up 10 kept passing the ball with Jimmy G when you were cooking on the run game. If CMC gets to work and you're able to dominate that clock, you can't step off of it. You can't get greedy. You got to take what that defense is giving you. If you're able to chew the clock and you're up, say 10 points, you can't move away from it. You got to drain that clock, or else Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, Isaiah Pacheco, they're gonna make it pay. So with that in mind, I've seen Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and that team, that elite defense. I've seen them win lots of different games this year. I've seen them win in different types of games where they need to do something a little different to get the job done. Especially in these playoffs. They've been playing their best football, like you said. I'm taking the Chiefs on their best day every day of the week until they prove me wrong. The Niners haven't been on their best day in a little while. So, all that in mind, I'll take the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll give it a little closer than you did. I think it's going to be low scoring. Give me 27-17, 10 points. I think it'll be close at the end, but it's going to be one of those weird games. They'll kick a field goal late to really just ice it, and that'll be that. As far as the conversations coming out of this game, before we end this show, let's go with the obvious. If the Chiefs win here, right? Travis Kelce probably cements himself as the greatest tight end of all time, unquestionably. I know that there's a debate now, but he turned up these playoffs. He's going to get his third Super Bowl ring, and he played in all three. Gronk might have 3 Super Bowl rings, but he didn't play in one of them. He didn't play most of that 2016 season. Although the Tampa one, okay, so he did play in the Tampa one. He played for most of that season. Okay, so they're about even there, but Kelce, as in the past game, a lot more productive, a lot more active in the past game. I know Gronk, a very valid blocker. He opened up that run game in 2018 to get us to kind of reinvent our offense there late and go win that Super Bowl against the Rams. But Kelce is just a different kind of weapon, and he's been doing this his entire career. He's had his health. Mahomes wins this third Super Bowl with another Super Bowl MVP, maybe. He's already got, what, 2 league MVPs?
Yes.
He's going to have 3 rings. He's got more MVPs than Brady at this point. He's going to have just the same amount of rings if he wins this game. Do you have anything to pile on there? Andy Reid, maybe he climbs the coaching greats. Maybe he's not quite Belichick, Shula, Landry, the greats. The greats are greats. But is Reid going to be inserting himself into that top 5, in that top 10? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'd say off the top of my head, I'd feel pretty comfortable putting him in the top 5 at this point. The issue with Andy Reid is it's easy to prisoner of the moment. What have you done for me lately with Andy Reid? But before Patrick Mahomes got there, his entire legacy was horrible clock management, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, that kind of thing, until he got his generational quarterback, which Belichick had his generational quarterback from the beginning, even if Brady wasn't necessarily the GOAT, you know what I mean, at the beginning of his run there. Kelce, I think it's a very valid argument either way, whether it's Gronk or Kelce. I think if Kelce wins another one and he has another great game, he showed this offseason the same thing Gronk did, is that in those moments when the chips are down and you need somebody to just go out there and have the best game they possibly can, he can go do that. Kelce is going to go do that against a Ravens defense that was one of the best, was the best statistically the entire season, being flanked by an all-pro and Kyle Hamilton, torched him when they needed him. When nobody else was really able to get open or get going that day, he absolutely torched the Ravens. I expect him to have another great game tomorrow. Mahomes, still too premature in my opinion. The conversation we had, I believe, a couple weeks ago on the pod, is still too premature, but those talks will start to creep in.
Is he already number 2?
Sorry?
Is he already number 2?
Yeah, I think he's already number 2, win, lose, or draw. Unless the only thing that would get me to move off that is if he had a AFC championship game against the Bengals type collapse and loses the game. If that happens, then you have to kind of reconsider because Brady never did that. Even whether they won, whether they lost, Brady, there was never a Brady moment.
There was never a Super Bowl where you think of strictly Super Bowls. Brady never blew it.
No. And Patrick hasn't either. I mean, they got demolished in that game against the Buccaneers, but they were on a paper mache offensive line by that point. That Buccaneers defense was killer, especially that pass rush all year
Pretty sure
long.
Mahomes was hurt in that one too.
Yeah, he was banged up in that one too. I don't hold that one against him too much. But there's never the only moment in his career where it's been chips are down, need this win. You got to come up. Out that Bengals game was the only time I can think of where he's ever not pulled through in these kinds of moments. And he gifted Joe Burrow a max contract, so Joe should send him a Christmas card for that one, in my opinion. But
yeah,
I think the narratives are more interesting around the Niners, personally.
No, I agree. But
if they win this game, Purdy's going to get a massive contract.
yeah, before we hit the Niners, want to hit this one really quick. The Chiefs will if they win the Super Bowl, they're the dynasty with those three in the repeat. That they're the New England Patriots in that regard, and Patriot fans are going to have to deal with some uncomfortable truths. But with that, the Niners again, Brock Purdy goes out and wins them this game. A lot of people are going to be eating their words, including me. A lot of people who say that you need a great quarterback to win these kind of games. Again, if Purdy wins this game, is he a top 6 quarterback? No. But he's good enough to win it. And they're good enough to get there. Jimmy G was one play away from winning it in 2019, for God's sakes. You're going to have a great team and still get here. Obviously, that 2019 team is nothing in comparison to what they got right now. But a lot of people have been saying, including myself, that Purdy just isn't that guy. He's not good enough to go get it. If he goes out and gets it, a lot of people will have that on their face. A lot of people. And Trent, I noticed you've been kind of positioning yourself to look a little better than maybe you would have a couple of weeks ago.
Well, it's not necessarily because I thought to myself, it's funny you mentioned that, because last night after we had that conversation, I thought to myself, am I just hedging my bets right now because I'm worried the Niners are going to win? But I don't think I am, because he showed something that Jimmy Garoppolo never had. And while it's easy to look at Jimmy Garoppolo on the Raiders and say, oh, this guy was always terrible, he wasn't always that bad. He's definitely washed now.
That latest Raiders tenure, it's just everything has caught up to him at this point. His body it's given up.
100%. And I think what Purdy has shown that he has that Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't is the mental toughness not to fold. Now, physical toughness, Jimmy Garoppolo is one of the toughest quarterbacks there is. That guy will play through anything. But Jimmy would get the yips in those moments. He was a habitual.
He keeps slinging it, though. I gotta appreciate that.
He does, to the detriment of everybody around him. He keeps slinging it. But Purdy, I don't think through 2 playoff games he's turned the ball over yet. And that's really impressive.
There's some iffy ones, but
there are some iffy ones. He's had some turnover eligible plays, or however the term goes.
Turnover worthy plays, I believe, is what PFF calls them.
Yep, thank you. Turnover worthy plays. He definitely has had that, but he hasn't turned the ball over on these drives. He is doing what he needs to do, and not in the sense of he's doing the bare minimum, but he's finding ways to be valuable to his team. And this is going to be a wild comparison, and just stick with me because you're probably going to be like, what the hell? But any night when LeBron James goes out there, and hold on, just hear me out. Anytime LeBron goes out there and his jump shot isn't hitting, he is talented to the point where he can pivot and still be an asset to the team and not be an asset in that way.
Had me in the
And
first half, not gonna lie.
exactly. Obviously, Brock Purdy is not the NFL equivalent to LeBron James, but in that Lions game, when his accuracy, he clearly didn't have it for the most part. He found ways to bide his time, was very smart about when to run, was able to scramble and get those big plays. That is winning football. And there is something to be said about that. Now, like you said, I'm not about to say Brock Purdy's a top 6 quarterback. Now, if he goes out there and just torches what I believe to be the actual best defense in
And
the
then
league,
maybe we have to think about it a little.
then we can have those. We can cross that bridge if and when we get there. But I think Purdy has shown me enough that he's not just a system quarterback, Trent Dilfer, getting carried by his great team. Because I don't think if the Niners do win the Super Bowl, I don't think this is a 2000s Ravens situation.
No, he's far better. That offense is far better than they're not being carried by their defense. It's not the 2015 Broncos.
Yeah. It's not a situation where you have this all-time great supporting cast. Now, he is an incredible supporting cast around him, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing on that team, in my opinion, outside of Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams that you look at and like that's all-time great stuff. You look at the Chiefs. I mean, Chris Jones is probably going to end up going down as one of the best defensive tackles of all time. Travis Kelce, we just talked about it, 1A, 1B, best tight end of all time. And then obviously you have Patrick Mahomes. So if the Niners can win the Super Bowl, I will walk back a lot of the stuff I had said previously about Purdy. I personally think he's shown me enough in these playoffs that he has proved some of the criticism wrong. But if we see another Ravens performance where he just completely bottoms out, I think I've mentioned this on the pod before. I think the 49ers are going to have a new quarterback next season.
You think you think it would be if it gets that bad, then they're looking again.
My conspiracy theory is that Shanahan is already out on Brock Purdy to an extent.
Has Shanahan ever had a quarterback he's not out on?
Never. He's never had one. He's never had one. I mean, he liked Trey Lance, and we all saw how that turned out. But
God, I'm not even convinced he liked Trey Lance.
he might not have. At this point, I don't know.
John Lynch is just giving him all these quarterbacks. He just hates every single one.
Yeah, I think I said it before. I think Shanahan, there were murmurs out there that he really wanted Kirk Cousins to be his guy.
Oh, I was about to go there. If they're replacing him, it's Kirk.
If Purdy has a terrible game in this Super Bowl, I do not think he'll be the quarterback next season.
That's a hot one. And again, it has to be a disaster. It's not like
it's got to be really bad.
Yeah, disaster class. What's like the worst quarterback performance we've ever seen in a Super Bowl? Like
Peyton Manning.
Yeah, but he wasn't getting replaced.
Well, yeah.
It's a weird spot because quarterbacks who make the Super Bowl generally don't get replaced.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't even know because this team clearly loves Purdy, and that's their guy, and they rally behind him and everything.
They rallied behind Jimmy too. Just gonna point that out there.
They did, but they also didn't go away from Jimmy the year after going to the Super Bowl. It took some time.
They should have because Tom Brady wanted to be there.
Well,
revisionist history, I know.
Hindsight's 2020,
Yeah. God. I really hate having to like consider that I have to walk back some of the things that I passionately believed in for a long time. Eventually, my Lions takes came home to roost. Dan Campbell burned him. Brock Purdy has yet to really officially burn the 49ers. But again, we talked about Purdy is doing enough to win these games. How far can that get them? That is the number one question. I don't want to say just, but you kind of get what I'm saying. Can playing good enough win you a Super Bowl instead of getting to that next level that we see guys like Mahomes get to, Brady, Eli, even in those Super Bowls, raised his play. I'm not I'm not sold on Purdy raising his play to that kind of level yet. He's not having a 2012 Joe Flacco kind of run. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
Yeah.
it's not that convincing to me. I had like the eye test just isn't there. My heart isn't there for it yet. If I when I see it, I will believe it, but I'm just not convinced yet. I'm not there yet. And a lot of Niners fans are over the moon. Like they see something that I don't. I'm not quite sure what it is. And maybe you're seeing a little bit more of the light than I am. But it's just I don't know. I haven't seen that like, ooh, that is what makes Brock Purdy the the um the Super Bowl MVP kind of play. This is what's gonna get them this Super Bowl. This is why I should be confident in the 49ers being 2-point favorites.
Yeah, well, I don't think I like I said earlier, I think the fact that they're favored over the Chiefs is ridiculous.
No, we're
And
both fairly confident that the Chiefs are going to win this game for sure. But like we're painting out this scenario where the 49ers end up coming out with this win. Purdy's going to have something of that Eli Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes kind of magic. That 2012 Joe Flacco kind of magic. I know Flacco was kind of a one and done, and in hindsight, he wasn't that great. But that 2012 playoff run, it's unmatched. It's matched by few. Eli in 2007, 2011 had a lot of guts. Took a lot of guts to do what he did against two great Patriots teams. I gotta see it. I gotta see something. I'm not sure what I'm looking for, but you know what I'm talking about. That intangible kind of God. He's got that kind of clutch gene, that thing that just kind of makes him tick. But we'll see on Sunday for sure, and we'll come back here next Tuesday or Wednesday, and we'll lay it all out like we always do. It's going to be a good one, folks. Make sure you turn into the Super Bowl on Sunday at 6 p.m. I'm sorry that the halftime show isn't spectacular. Nobody's getting excited for Usher these days, are they?
oh, it'll be good. I mean,
Eh,
I'm not super excited for it. It'll be good though.
eh. Before we close, I'm gonna pitch this question, and then we'll sign off. If you could have one Super Bowl halftime artist, what would be your number one overall pick to go play that Super Bowl? It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. It's just what you want.
Dead or alive, or just people alive?
Let's go with alive.
Okay.
Still standing.
You go first. I gotta think about that.
The Foo Fighters.
That would be sick. Well, didn't they
Everlong is
kind
gonna
of
get
play
the
it?
crowd pumping at halftime.
Didn't they do the Katy Perry Super Bowl too?
The Foo Fighters?
I want to say the Foo Fighters were like a surprise, like guest act.
I don't remember. I just remember the dancing sharks at the
Jamie, check that. No, I'm just kidding.
Your number one halftime Super Bowl pick.
If I could pick,
Good one.
I'm trying to think of somebody who would be like a good performer.
Yeah, because you don't want to just pick your favorite rapper.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of that was a factor for me. You gotta have that like presence of stage.
Yeah.
And for a rock band, the Foo Fighters got it. They have bangers that are gonna get the people going, like Everlong, like My Hero.
Yeah.
Hard to top the Foo Fighters.
It's if I had to pick one person, I mean, a lot of the people I would like to have seen. The problem is the main thing I listen to is rap, and most rappers are horrible, like live performers.
Yeah, rap music doesn't have a great kind of presence.
It doesn't
in
translate.
that kind of environment. Like if you're going to a rap concert at your kind of local, like your TD Gardens, your I can't believe I don't know that your Footprint arenas in Phoenix. People like Drake can do that with their eyes closed, and they can get pumped for it. But something about those Super Bowl halftime, like they just kind of lean more towards a band and having great live music.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't have a country pick like Morgan Wallen or Luke Combs. I think that this was the year to do something like that.
Well, I think there's reasons Morgan Wallen
No, for sure. But
may or may not.
Luke Combs could have done it.
Luke Combs would have been a good pick. I think Drake would, if he did ever decide to do the Super Bowl halftime show, I think he would kill it. I think Taylor Swift would be really good.
I would love that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know many Taylor
I
Swift songs,
almost
but I would love it.
guarantee you Taylor Swift does it next year. I almost guarantee you she does it next year.
Is there a reason she hasn't yet?
She hasn't wanted to. From what I've heard is that the NFL has wanted her to do the Super Bowl halftime show for a while, and she just hasn't wanted to do it. Drake claims that he has never wanted to do it. I don't know how much I believe that, but Kendrick Lamar would probably be my number one pick. I know you're not a great Kendrick guy, but Kendrick Live is
He did the
insane.
Super Bowl. He was a minor part of that one in LA.
He was a part of the Eminem Dr. Dre show.
That was the only one that my mom watches on TV. She's like, I have no idea who that is. Caleb, who is that?
Yeah, exactly. If I had to pick one, it's kind of a normie answer. Metallica would be really good.
Ooh.
Metallica would be awesome.
Dude, what I wouldn't do to see Fuel played at halftime.
Yeah, I mean, Enter Sandman or Seek and Destroy live would shred so.
I'd be disappointed if they didn't play Fuel though at least once.
Yeah,
Fuel, that's my all-time favorite Metallica song for sure. Metallica and Foo Fighters, God, those are some good picks.
Yeah, I'm gonna think about this more after we get off, and I'm gonna be mad that I didn't think about somebody else. I'm sure.
Yeah, but there's your halftime discourse, folks. I hope you enjoyed. Trent, thank you so much. Can I count on you to be back for the Super Bowl post show?
I will do everything I can to be back for sure.
And I will do everything I can to make sure that I can fit around your schedule. People love you. I love you. Can't wait to see what happens next. But enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody. This has been the Foxboro BeatCast. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, especially those Super Bowl plays we missed out on. Who would be your favorite Super Bowl halftime? I'd love to hear it. But yeah, this has been the Foxboro BeatCast. We will see you all next week.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Foxboro BeatCast. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.